Hello and welcome to Talk of Good Game. It's the match preview of West Ham United against Charlton Athletic in the Carabao Cup tomorrow night, Tuesday night, 7:30 kickoff. Gonzo, can you smell an upset coming?
Maybe I can. From a motivated team with an ex-West Ham player and West Ham fan, should I say, and Mark Noble's cousin as their manager.
Yeah, right. Anyway, let's crack on. We'll always talk about the opposition first, so let's start there. Charlton Athletic. You used to know loads about them, but do you know as much these days, Gonzo?
Well, only a bit because they were in the news. I had to just go back and check what I thought was correct, because when Ngakia wasn't signing a contract with us, he wasn't the only body, and the only person. Ryan Fraser was also in a similar situation whereby the season got extended, and because of that, the players' are being paid up until whatever June, July, but they weren't prepared to play for the final few games. Charlton had a striker called Lyle Taylor who now plays for Nottingham Forest, and I thought it was a massive kick in the teeth for Charlton, and certainly impacted them far more than Ngakia not playing impacted us. I remember listening to Lee Bowyer, who of course is the manager of Charlton. I thought he was quite pragmatic on it and really quite gracious, really, but he must have been absolutely gutted because Lyle Taylor's a big player for them and was a big player for them, and he basically down tools and said, I am not playing because I don't want to get injured for the remainder of the season. In terms of Charlton this season, well, they've played one game, so they're like many teams, they've won their first game in League One, so I guess they're joint top in that, but they also beat Swindon 3-0 in the first round of the tournament we're about to play tomorrow. So they've won their last two games, which is what can be said for West Ham. So he's a good manager, Lee Bowyer. He is a good manager. Of course, they're missing somebody who probably will feature against them tomorrow for us, who's Josh Cullen. So I think there's going to be an awful lot of crossover interest, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I don't know too much about them anymore. It's a shame, really. I used to not mind them, to be honest with you. But to see everyone talks about the fall of Sunderland and the fall of Bolton, but the fall of Charlton doesn't really get spoken about in as much, I don't think, on social media and stuff. Sunderland seems to be the pin-up for how disastrous things can go if you get relegated from the Premier League, and Bolton seem to be the pin-up for how financially crippled you can be if things go wrong for you. But I think Charlton's somewhere in the middle of the two, if you like. They're almost a hybrid of poor performances, not very much cash, and extremely bad ownership, perhaps.
Yes.
The Lyle Taylor thing's an interesting thing. It's slightly different to Ngakia, isn't it? I would say, because I think Ngakia only played 4 games. I would almost argue that he didn't really owe us as much as what Lyle Taylor perhaps owed Charlton, and he was their star man. You know, it would have been similar to Declan Rice walking out on us at the end of June saying, "No, I'm not taking part in the remaining part of the season, lads. See you later." I think Lyle might feel a bit silly now. Nottingham Forest isn't a bad club, but I think he was probably expecting a Premier League move, to be honest with you. I think Taylor was expecting to go to a Premier League club, and that's why I think he did what he done. And to go to Forest, it was a bit like, was it really worth it? Sort of giving up your integrity, if you like, as a professional footballer. But given that I defended Ngakia for not doing that, I've sort of got to defend Taylor and say I can completely understand where he's coming from, that he doesn't want to get injured and scupper what is a big money move for him at prime time in his career. I understand it. But the Charlton ownership certainly have been in all the news. What was a quiet spell just before the season come back, the Charlton fans made their protest and they grabbed all the headlines for the right reasons, a protest does.
Well, they've got more reason than most to feel aggrieved, Charlton, because Charlton fans saved their own club. I mean, they really did. I remember what they were sharing Selhurst Park. I remember that. The Valley, which is obviously their home ground, was... I mean, just Google it. Go and Google pictures of basically an abandoned valley. All the terrace in it had weeds and grass growing out of it, and it was rusty. And basically, the fans all got together and bought the ground back, bought the valley back. That's the reason they have a stadium, is because the fans. And I think any owner coming in there should really bear all that in mind. I think if there's ever a case for the German ownership model, which is the fans owning 49% or whatever the 51. Case, I don't know exactly how it's run.
51.
51. There you go. 2% between friends. No, yeah, but the majority is key in this. But yeah, if there's ever a really good example in the English game for fans owning a club. It's that, and it'd be three would spring to mind. Would be Charlton, would be AFC Wimbledon, and Portsmouth, because it's just not right that somebody should be able to come in and dictate terms in that. And I tell you what. Our owners like to turn around and say they've saved West Ham and this, that, and the other, but they really did. The Charlton fans really did, and they have got every right to protest. They've got every right to moan, and they've got every right to feel aggrieved because they saved the club, and someone else comes in and running it. If you hold a second, we did everything here, and now you're running it into the ground. I have total and utter sympathy with them.
I think the protest they done was very good, actually. To sort of essentially break into your ground and take over the boardroom and stuff, I think is. You read it and you think fair play to you, actually. And then I don't know too much about it. I haven't read up on it. If Charlton fans watching this, they're probably a little bit offended by my lack of knowledge here. But I'm aware that the guy that currently owns it, Elliot, has got an injunction so that the Norwegian one can't then take over from the club. Or he's trying to get an injunction out anyway. And that's a shame. That's like shame as in bad shame on the EFL. They're fitting proper tests and stuff. Yes. We've just seen it with Wigan, and it's the same things happening to Charlton Athletic at the minute as well. You've got to look at this. The football clubs need to be protected here to avoid alleged con artists coming in and just taking advantage of it. They're taking advantage of everything that a football club stands for, and we think we've got bad with our owners. I think if you have a look at Charlton's and some others, you might think maybe they're not that bad after all. And I think when you go through what we are going through is with West Ham and Newcastle fans for the two Premier League clubs, I think you probably have a great deal of sympathy for clubs like Charlton, because you look at them and think, we know what you're on about. We know the battle you've got here and stuff. But I just thought things that they've done when everybody turned up and put their quid down on the statue and stuff. I think stuff like that. It's quite. You almost look at it with like a lump in your throat as a football fan.
It's powerful. It is powerful.
You look at it and think, wow, crikey, like what it stands for is just immense. But away from anything else you'd like to add on Charlton? Have you got anything else you'd like to chuck in there?
I couldn't really tell you anything about the team. I'm sorry.
I only know one player.
I know they've won their last two games, and look, they'll be hoping for promotion. I do think Lee Bowyer is a good manager. I mentioned his name, and he is a good manager. I like every time I've heard him. He goes on the radio quite a lot. I think he speaks well. No nonsense, no messing around. Very blunt. I don't mean blunt like Roy Keane blunt. He's not rude, but he gets his point across. I like the way he speaks. He's no nonsense. I wish him well. I really do.
Would you like to see Bowyer at West Ham? Let's just say halfway through the season, for whatever reason, David Moyes left. Would Lee Bowyer be on your shortlist, providing he's doing an adequate job at Charlton?
He was on my list last time after Pellegrini, actually. Bearing in mind, I don't mean on my dream list yet. Ideally, Tottenham had sacked Pochettino. Ideally, Pochettino comes in. Or, as you know, I quite fancied Arteta as well. But discounting those managers, bearing in mind that it was David Moyes and Chris Hughton, really only two managers that fancied the job, and I bet that list of two's probably dwindled to zero now at their time again. He was on the list. I actually thought he would be able to come in and he'd be able to do a job. And as I say, he is. He's a Canning Town boy as well, and he understands the club. I think he's got an awful lot going for him, and I do think he'll have a bright future. And he is, because a lot of people won't notice, he actually left Charlton as well. In protest, basically, he couldn't work with the owner, and then he left, and then I think he was persuaded to come back. But it shows that he's got some dignity. He's got
morals.
He's got some morals, absolutely, mate. Yeah, so there's a lot to be admired there. There really is, Gio, and I do. Look, we always appraise a team before we play them, and I don't. I honestly, hand on heart, I wish them all the best in their future. I hope they've got a solid run club. That all they can wish for is really being solvent, and I hope they at least get that. Some wins, and I hope they get promotion.
Yeah, I hope the Norwegian guy, I'm not going to try and pronounce his name, the guy that's there with the S, I hope he manages to get full control of the club, because the fans seem to be behind him anyway. From what I've seen on social media, the fans seem to want him to be able to take over, and that he does have the funds to take the club forward. So for their football fans, I hope it happens. As for Bowyer, if he does well this season, I think that would put him on my short list, if you like. I still, when Pellegrini got sacked, I still thought it was a bit too soon, because he'd only really... he's a bit raw. But now if he does it again, given that he's working in a club that's in turmoil at the minute, and like you said, the fact he did walk away after gaining promotion as well, which is important. I think it's harder to do that. It's easy to walk away after you've been relegated or you've had an alright season. It's very difficult once you've got promoted and you're on the high, you're going into the Championship, second tier is your manager, you're a young manager trying to make a name for yourself, you've gone into the Championship. To walk away, it takes some doing that. It takes a lot about you. Yes, he went back, but you'd have to imagine he went back on his own terms, or certainly a compromise in his favour that he was happy with. The only player that I really know is Macaulay Bonne, but that's because he scores goals for Charlton. He's a young lad. He knows where the net is. So out of all the names for Charlton, he's the one I'm hoping I do not see feature, because you score goals. The goals are the same size in League One as it is in Premier League and in the Carabao Cup. But now, time to talk about West Ham. This is going to be interesting. We're going to give you what this team we want to see, not what we think will happen. We don't know what we want to see. Before we get into it, a little bit of team news. Under 23s played earlier today, and there was a few notable exclusions. Players not involved for the under 23s today. Alisi, the centre back, Baptiste, the other centre back, they were not featuring today. Alexander Silva wasn't playing, neither was Connor Coventry, and then the young striker Odebeko wasn't playing neither. Whether they're involved in tomorrow night's squad or they were injured or whatever, we don't know, but if they are going to feature tomorrow night, they would not have been playing today. So that's 5 youngsters there worth taking note that might be involved in Dave Moyes' squad tomorrow. Gonzo, goalkeeper, are you sticking with Fabianski? Because you're a big believer in starting as strong as possible 11 in the cup. As am I. I think I'm more open to rotation than you, but I do believe in keeping it strong. Keeping Fabianski in goal, or would you give Randolph the nod?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, Gio, because you're absolutely right. I do. I want to take the cups seriously. And you say that because that's given me context what I'm about to say now. I'm not feeling the same today. I'm sorry to say that, and this is how much it's impacted me. The cups are my favourite thing, as you know, and you value them also yourself very highly. So I will make some changes. I say I will, like I've got any influence on proceedings. But I do think it's important that we protect a lot of the players. I particularly Declan Rice. We'll get onto in a minute. You asked about the keeper. I would, however, play Fabianski because it's not you're not exerting yourself in terms of cardiovascular as a goalkeeper, and I think he needs matches and sharpness. I will play Fabianski.
I would play Darren Randolph. I think we're not bringing in a crap goalie, are we? We're bringing in a very experienced goalkeeper here that should be adequate Premier League standard if upon required. But also because I've almost got a ever so slight niggly concern over Fabianski this season. Towards the end of last season, I kept saying to you, when we do the player ratings, you kept getting 6s, and I thought this isn't good. Last season we've been getting 8s. The first game doesn't fill me with any more confidence. I still think he's a superb goalie. I'm just a little bit hesitant about him, if you like. I'm not as confident as I was a year ago in Fabianski, so I'd give Randolph the gloves more for like match practice, if anything, so Fabianski doesn't happen to work out. He has a few bad games and stuff. We can change our goalkeeper. So Randolph in goal. Are you keeping a back four? And if so, what is your personnel?
Yeah, I'll keep the shape. I will certainly. I'll have Ben Johnson at right back.
Agree.
I'll play Issa Diop. I'll play Balbuena next to him, and I'll play Masuaku at left back.
Would you like to give a reason for any of those, or self-explanatory? Isn't it?
Yeah. I wouldn't play that back four in our game against Arsenal. Let's be fair. I just think. I just want some more training time for the others. It's 3 games in close proximity to one another, so I'm resting Ogbonna basically to keep him fresh. I'm just taking Cresswell out of the firing line to play Masuaku, and I'm working on the proviso that at least this team should be good enough to beat Charlton. All the lovely things we've just said about them. There's players here on loads and loads of money. Diop is a young man. He can play 3 games. In 8 days or whatever it might be, so that's why I'm playing him there basically.
I agree with Ben Johnson. I think Ben Johnson's got a bit of an addition tomorrow night. I think he will start, not necessarily for the right back spot, but almost for the left back spot as well. I think Ben Johnson can really make a claim and say, hang on a minute, if that guy in the left back tonight assuming it is Masuaku, doesn't play too well and I perform here, then I should be starting against Arsenal at left back. I think he's done enough to warrant a claim in previous games and stuff. Centre backs, I would change it completely. I would go Balbuena and Elise. I really like Elise. I think he's got a massive future at West Ham. And he's played at League One level and done very well at League One level, so he should be able to cope with what Charlton have got for him. And I still think Balbuena's a good centre back. I know he's getting discarded a little bit. I know Moyes don't rate him, but he had a stinker against West Brom. But apart from that, I think he's generally been pretty solid for us. I don't understand the poo-pooing of Balbuena, if you like. Masuaku just picks himself because not Creswell, essentially, is my line back for tomorrow. And the midfield, how would you like to line up?
Declan Rice, I'm just completely resting him. The more I think about it, the more I look at his performance and look at the fact he wasn't substituted in either England game. And I think that's it. I really do. I think, it's easy to say the Dean Garner situation, this, that and the other, and I do think there was a mood about the club, but I think it's far more likely that he was tired after some exertions playing for England, and that'll be good for him. I mean, not just in terms of fitness, in terms of his morale. I think Gareth Southgate, actually, I think it's him and Harry Kane and one or two others played all the minutes in both games. So that's a feather in his cap. But he needs resting for that. So I will bring in Josh Cullen for obvious reasons. And I'll play Souček next to him for the opposite reason of Declan Rice, because Souček is a fit guy, but he didn't have the international stuff. He was due to be playing your mob, wasn't he? And they all got the lurgy, basically, so he didn't get to play because they were all isolating. So I will play him in central midfield, those two.
I would play Josh Cullen as well for obvious reasons, but I would play Declan Rice with the captain's armband on and stuff. I'd basically say to him, you were shocking against Newcastle, sort it out. Go there on Tuesday and sort it. I'd expect Declan, and I don't mean be too disrespectful to Charlton. I'd expect Declan to stroll through the game if he played. I think he would. I expect him to find it easy playing against Charlton, and I'd rather he was beside Cullen, helping Cullen rather than Souček. I think out of Souček and Cullen, I'd be wary that the defence isn't going to get overly too much cover. I'd rather have Declan Rice in there just to see us through it, because I want to take the cup serious. I want to proceed in the cup, and I think Declan's probably one of my first names on the team sheet with that armband on, Gonzo. Let's jump to the striker then, because you could be going 1 up or you could be going 2 up.
Yeah, I'll just go 1 up with Sebastian Haller up there. I don't want to take Antonio completely out of the firing line, actually. Again, wrap him in cotton wool ahead of Arsenal.
I would put Haller up front as well. We need goals. We need our strikers to start scoring. This is a good opportunity for him to start doing it. And if he does, then he puts himself into contention for the Arsenal game. If he doesn't, he's probably just made sure he's on the bench for the Arsenal one. And then your 3 in behind the striker, please.
Yeah, I play Yarmolenko on the right, starting the game there. That being said, I think Bowen is fit enough to play there, but he was kicked a lot as well against Newcastle. Look, you can see what I'm doing with the team. I'm being cautious. I really am with this one. But again, I still think Yarmolenko should be good enough. He's the second best Ukrainian player ever, right? Behind Shevchenko. So surely he should be able to do something there. I play Lanzini in behind. And it's a shame because I would play. I don't know what's happened to Nathan Holland, but I would play him on the left in this one because I think it's his time. I think he's 22 now, Nathan. So he's ready to go, but he's just not around. So actually, I would play Felipe Anderson as a left winger in this one. Again, I mean, it really is. You talk about an audition for Ben Johnson. It's ridiculous that someone that's played for Brazil and cost 35 million should be having an audition, and I should be talking about things in such terms. But it's his audition. It's his window dressing. His for sale sign. There's an awful lot of reasons for Felipe Anderson to do well in this game, and I think we need to find some things out really. And because it would be, I do think it'd be the end. Let's say we did play my team and Lanzini completely flopped and Felipe Anderson completely flopped and Masuaku was useless. I almost think it would be the end of those players at West Ham. I'm not saying we'd be able to sell them because who's going to come in and buy him? But I do think there'd be no appetite from anyone at all to see Felipe Anderson play again. I really do think so. But that's my team, and it should be strong enough to win, Gio. This is not like playing the youngsters from the under-23s. There's players in this team worth 20, 30, 40 million pounds.
Yeah, I'm sticking with Yarmolenko on the right as well. I think he looked good against Newcastle. You need a goal threat on the pitch somewhere. I think he offers that. I think I'd hate to be Charlton's left back if I was coming up against Yarmolenko. I'd be thinking, oh no, this guy's just going to come running at me. He's going to cut inside. He's going to hit it from 20 yards, and he's going to do everything. I would not want to be up against him. I would put Antonio on the left because, again, I think we need goals, but also it's almost like a psychological thing. I'd be saying to him, look, do you want to play up front tough? Someone else is up front tonight, so you've got to play well out there because Valère plays well. He's starting against Arsenal up there, so if you want in the pitch, this is where you're going to be playing. Your left wing is up for grabs here. But I think we need to make sure we have enough people in the team that can score and is proving they can score. And then I would put Felipe Anderson in the number 10 role, to be fair. I would put him in. It's between him and Lanzini, really, just to give them a... Surely they're going to turn up in this one. Like you said, if they don't, then we've got some big problems if they can't show up for this one. But two strong 11s... No, not much youngsters still. I would like to see at one point, if we were comfortable, I would like to see that old Beckel guy, that youngster, this young striker that we got from Man United.
Sure.
I seen his goal against, was it QPR they were playing the under 23s or it was under 21, sorry. It was from like 25 yards out. But he just passed it. It was like a passing technique, but it flew into the bottom corner. It's been a long time since I've seen someone hit it with that technique at such a young age as well. If Man United wanted to keep hold of him, I think that's something you have to remember as well. Man United wanted to keep him. We managed to pinch him, essentially. But it's good to see him, 17 years old. If he is in the squad tomorrow night, that'll be interesting. I'd like to see him on the pitch at some point. But with all that said and done, how are you feeling about tomorrow's game in general?
I don't know. It's not very real. I'm lost for words, Joe, to be fair.
Nervous?
I could do without it, quite frankly. I think is the truth. I could do without a West Ham game tomorrow. It really scared the hell out of me what I saw. I think we need the week to get ready for the Arsenal game, which is why I would make so many changes to my team. That being said, there's a lot of players who won't start against Arsenal, and we do have a big squad. The fact that I've just named almost an entirely different first 11 shows you how big our squad is, right?
Yeah, you're missing players like Snodgrass and...
Yeah, absolutely. No, you're right. There are other players in there as well. So, it's. I'm not nervous. This is weird. For the first time in ages, I'm not bothered about it. And I'll tell you why I'm not bothered about it, Joe, because I don't think we can win it. And I normally go into every season, and it's the first bet I do on every season is West Ham to win the League Cup and the FA Cup. Well, not both of them. I don't do a double, but you know what I mean. I put a little, what I'm like, a couple of quid on each one, and the odds along, and I think, yeah, you know what, I feel it. I buy tickets, I keep my loyalty points up, I do all that stuff. So as when we get to the cup final, I say this to every year. When it gets to the cup final, I want to have a cup final ticket. That's how much I believe. A fool's hope, a fool's belief, of course. But that's fine. I'm just not believing at the moment. That's for that reason. I find it really hard to get excited about it at all. But also, I find it hard to get nervous about it. Isn't it terrible? It's almost like it's apathy. I almost don't care.
It's a bit sad because a lot of people in the modern day don't care about the cups. A lot of people just aren't that bothered by them. We often get questions on the cup of tea. Would you rather finish fourth or win the FA Cup? And when we say FA Cup, they're almost a bit offended. Some people get, what? Yeah. Would you take relegation if you won the FA Cup? And we'd say, well, probably, yeah. And then people get like, are you mad? So we are romantics when it comes to the cup and stuff. So to hear you say that, it's sad. It just shows where the club is that's even sucked that out of you. I think your excitement might go up tomorrow night just before kick-off, but you might get that back because I was a bit like this with the Premier League return. I wasn't that fussed, but as we've got nearer a kick-off, I started to feel it a little bit. As for tomorrow night, I'm generally hoping Charlton put out their second team. I think if they put out their first team and they're well up for it, I think it's going to be a tough game. But if Boyer says, hang on a minute, we're not going to bother with the cup this year. All we need is promotion. We need to win League One. That's all we're bothered by. So I'm going to rest players and not bother with the cup this year. But Bowyer being Bowyer, I wouldn't be surprised if he sees a chance at winning this and getting an upset and getting a few extra quid into the club and whatnot, and I'm going for it. It makes me nervous because I think this is a good opportunity for some of our players to get a little bit of confidence back after Saturday. The first team players, if you were to play Rice and Souček in midfield and they were to stroll through the game and were to win comfortably, they might feel a bit better. If you had Haller or Antonio up front and they got a goal or two between them, their confidence goes up a little bit. We'd go into the Arsenal game feeling a little bit better. But saying that, this is where the risk comes, isn't it? And if we go out, then we might as well not turn up on Sunday.
No, it's not even worth.
But I am feeling a little bit nervous, actually. I just hope that we take this seriously. I think Moyes is under a little bit of pressure here, because if we lose, the pitchforks are going to get sharpened even further, not just for him, but just for the board as well, because we often, Allardyce has told us, Allardyce has confirmed what we've always known, which is the board tells you not to bother going for the cups and make sure you're safe in the Premier League. Bin that cup competition off almost. No one at the club can afford a defeat tomorrow night. The players, the manager, the board, none of them. They all need to make sure that we go through, and we go through comfortably, just to keep us quiet a little bit. I don't believe the protest is results based. I have absolutely zero doubt it isn't, but a defeat tomorrow night would increase the unrest. Come Wednesday, fans would be angry again. It would activate all the emotion again and give the fans a go. So with all that said and done, are you confident? Can I get your final thoughts, and can I get your score prediction, please?
I'm not confident, and I can't make too reasoned a judgment and prediction, so you'll excuse me on that, just because I don't know enough about Charlton's team. However, I will stick by what I said, and players like Yarmolenko and Sebastian Haller, and I do expect both of those to start, by the way, and many of the others that I have mentioned are top level international players, or European level with, in Europa League or Champions League players. These are big players here, mate, and they've got to be enough to get past a team that's struggling. That being said, I was at Oxford last year. Well, actually, I was at Wimbledon as well. Yeah, I've seen it all. I'm telling you, I've seen it all. I've seen smaller teams than Charlton turn West Ham over. But I'm going to go for a 3-1 win to West Ham.
I was thinking 3-1, to be honest with you. I think we just got. If we turn up, all the players that is picked tomorrow night, regardless of who Moyes picks, those players turn up and play 10 out of 10, we win the game. Charlton just won't, even if they play 10 out of 10, we win. Simple as that. Am I confident in us doing that? No, not really. I'm confident in half the team turning up. Certain players I'm more confident in than others. Lanzini and Anderson, as both of them starting, would make me nervous, to be honest with you guys, because I think there's a good chance that neither of them turn up. And I just think, crikey, that's already, you've lost your creativity completely in that team. It scares me a little bit, actually, that we can essentially put them out, and then you would replace Snodgrass on the right. It would just worry me. Anyway, 3-1. I'm gonna go with 3-1 as well, which might give you a little insight into what the bet giveaway is going to be tomorrow night before the game. If you want to know what that is, we put a little bet on before the match. Once we've seen the lineups, and if it wins, we give someone all the money. It's not won yet. We've only done it for about 3 games, but we've been close though. We've been pretty close. So tomorrow night it's a 7:30 kickoff. So 6:30, just before 6:30, we will be live on the channel and I'll look at the West Ham lineup and the Charlton lineup, trying to work out if we know any of the players. And that's just the West Ham ones, that is. And then we've got a live watch along as well. You have to pay £10 to watch the game tomorrow night, so you don't want to pay a tenner. You want to save yourself a few quid. Don't worry, I'm Scottish. I want to do the same. You can pop onto the channel for the live watch along, and then myself and Gonzo will be live with the review. Gonzo, I shall see you tomorrow night.
Look, I was going to say, looking forward to it. Yeah, I'll see you tomorrow night.
If you've enjoyed the preview, drop a like on it. Skype new around here, and we'll catch you tomorrow night.